Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch new spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments too. Man, alright, so when we first got the word about the whole metal event and these Nightmare Batmen, like before we knew anything about any of them, the Devastator was the one that I was most excited about. Because immediately I noticed that DC ain't try to put one over on us by just having the Superman with a Batman mask on. And that's mad props to the whole team because this was executed very well. And now the origin of the Devastator I like a lot because we finally get that Batman versus Superman, like how most of us would really imagine for it to go down. Like if Superman didn't hold back at all and just went full force at Batman. And I'll tell you guys in a little bit how this issue kind of changed my perspective on that. But I still believe it's two sides to this because what we see on this Earth -1 in the Dark Multiverse is a very accurate demonstration of Batman vs Superman and also the death of Superman if Doomsday had the skill set of Bruce Wayne. And not even the gadgets, but just the skill set. And just to give you a quick breakdown on the Devastators Origin before I geek out about how it went down and how accurate it is. But it's pretty simple in the sense that Superman just flipped and we're not told why or what happened. He probably had a kryptonite enema, nobody knows. But one thing we do notice about this Earth -1 that is very familiar or similar to different alternate versions where we see Batman and Superman at odds with one another. Like we have the kryptonite spear from Batman v Superman, and that's probably one of the first things that'll just jump right out at you. And that's before Batman gets his arm shot off, of course. But then we also find out that on Earth -1, Superman killed the Joker, a lot like the Injustice series. And it's possible that it was a familiar circumstance to that which caused Superman to flip, but we know it wasn't the exact same because Lois and his son Jonathan Kent are still alive. But after taking Batman down so quickly, and I kind of say that with air quotes, because it's not over yet, it's really just beginning. But for this brief moment you have like this calm where Superman is like, I don't get it. People always say you can beat me, and I can just split you in half by looking at you. Like, just looking at you, that's it. And he has a point as far as that, because there's a number of ways that he could end it quickly, but he doesn't, and it gives Batman enough time to initiate his transformation, like straight up Bill Bixby style like back in the day. But when he does this, the first transformation is like at the push of a button. And that was just for the first time that he did it. When you see him do it again, he's not going to push a button or anything, he just does it at will. And aside from this initial transformation on Earth -1, the time we see him do it on Earth 0 leads me to think that this is the Batman who thought it through a little bit better. Like that's his new name from now on. And just think about it for a second, like all the other Batman, they have like a permanent or seemingly permanent augmentation to themselves after their transformation. Like Red Death, his transformation may be reversible, possibly through the same steps you would use to remove the Speed Force from the Flash. But even still, that is a possibility. But primarily with the calculated risk that Bruce took, he knew that he was going to be merging with Barry. Barry was like, no, we're going to die. But from the research that Bruce put into it previously, he knew that Barry would survive and that they would be merged together. And if anybody for sure is 100% not reversible, that would have to be the Drown, because she made modifications to herself down to a cellular level. And it's possible that with the Drown, much like Red Death, they had time working against them when they had to do what they needed to do. And alongside with their universe working against them, like that along with the time frame is most likely the reason why their transformations were more morbid and horrific. But as far as the Devastator, when he travels to Earth 0, we see him there still looking like Bruce Wayne. And that's where we find out that he can make that transformation back and forth. But in this issue, we're also informed that the event that took place on Earth -1, it happened many years ago. And although we see the One Who Laughs recruit him like right after he kills Superman, and it's crazy how the One Who Laughs just pops up after each one of these guys does the worst. But when he recruits the Devastator, like the damage is done, Superman has already killed like countless people, and this Batman was only able to make himself strong enough to fight back. And that's why I believe that since this incident took place so many years ago, that it's possible that Bruce upgraded the Doomsday virus that he created, added the ability to make himself be able to transform, which may have already been there or not, but definitely he found a way to make it a contagion. And the reason why I say that the contagion part is something that he did later is because the Batman Who Laughs told him, look, there's another Superman out there and he's on an Earth where it's not too late. And the Devastator, before his transformation, he procrastinated a little bit. And when he went in the form of Bruce to see Lois and told her the whole story, he mentioned that for the longest time he felt like there was a way to save Clark or to spare his life. But after initiating the transformation and the rock-like skin started forming, that effect took place inside and out and physically altered his emotions and literally gave him a heart made of rock. But if I had to compare him to any of the other Batman, the closest would probably be the Merciless, because when he removes his helmet, he just looks like an older Bruce Wayne. But another trait that they hold in common is the Merciless helmet, much like the Doomsday virus, they both corrupt the host. causing them not to think clearly. Like, they're still there consciously, but their thoughts are augmented. And with the Merciless, there's kind of this gray area on whether he was wearing the helmet where he killed Diana or if he was just holding it. Because all we had to go off is his words when he said that she tried to take it from him. And after she tried to take it from him, we just see him with the helmet and the sword that she was using in battle after that. But on Earth Zero, where the Devastator pays Lois a visit, he initially visits her as Bruce Wayne, and then when he sees her, he makes contact and transforms into his Doomsday form. So we still have a bit to learn about how the contagion spreads, whether it's something that he's releasing from himself, or if it's something he had tucked away when he was in his Bruce Wayne form. Like, we really don't know at this point, and I would assume it would have to be by touch, because if not, there's a number of other ways he could have exposed her without having to get so close. And that's really been his method so far. Like when he used kryptonite on the Superman from Earth -1, he made sure that he was the full weapon or the full solution of this Doomsday virus, and also that when he converted to that mode, that he wouldn't need like his utility belt in order to carry out these other functions. And aside from Lois, he comes into contact with a few others like Supergirl and other heroes who attempt to stop them with no success, but instead we see that the people he exposes is by choice, and the people that we see him choose for the most part so far are just regular people. But on a broad scale, the results from this are very different, because when Lois is exposed, the first thing she thinks about is her son Jonathan Kent, so she rushes to go get him, but when she finds a taxi, the driver who's fully transformed appears to be dead. And that makes me think of two things. One, it's possible that this Doomsday virus has a different effect on different people, like some people it'll save, other people it may kill. But on the other hand, it's also possible that this is just a part of their process. But I also want to mention that in these one-shots, there's a lot of stuff that's left to the imagination. Like some of the information we get is like head on, this is this, and that's what it is. Like for the Devastator, the Doomsday virus, we know that Batman made it, we know that it's his, he didn't just take it from somebody. But the thing that we don't know for sure is, was there actually a Doomsday on Earth -1? And when I say that, I mean Doomsday as we know him. Because I feel like most would assume, just when knowing that Batman made a Doomsday virus, like our first thought is that he sampled it from Doomsday. But the Devastator never said that. He just said that this is a virus that he put together and he called it the Doomsday virus, which is a very appropriate name for the day that Superman just goes crazy. Or better yet, any kind of clock counting down for Superman. And we'll talk about that soon enough, that's a whole nother can of worms. But for the most part, the idea is left open that Batman is actually Doomsday. He's not a version of Doomsday, but he's actually Doomsday from Earth -1. But getting back to Lois and her rushing home to get Jonathan Kent, like it just melts my heart how this little Superman is just so ready to fight any threat. Like it doesn't matter the size, he's that brave. But Lois snatches his little ass like the loving mother that she is, and she just tells him there's no way in hell I'm letting you go out there. And I love that she does that, because after she pulls him in, she activates the Last Son Protocol lockdown procedure. And this is really just a safe room for Jonathan. Her and Clark wish they never had to use it in a million years, but it's really a fail-safe for a contingency such as this one, for when Superman's not around to protect him, or even when she's been compromised, that she can lock her son away and he'll be safe. But as far as Lois and everybody else in Metropolis, it's tough to call right now what the outcome of their circumstance will be, being that they've been exposed to the Devastator's Doomsday virus. Like it's possible that her, Jim, and the others will react differently to it, and they'll actually have the powers similar to the Devastator. Of course not on his level, but enough to fulfill the purpose of what he mentioned of them being able to protect themselves from Superman. But I just don't think that this is the absolute end for Lois and all the others on Earth Zero, mainly because it's Earth Zero, man. You just gotta keep hope alive. And with all the possibilities that they leave open, there's a number of ways that it could go. We just gotta keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. But the last couple things I want to talk about are both your Batman vs Superman and your Doomsday vs Superman, with the Devastator being your Doomsday, of course. But first, Batman vs Superman. So like I said before, in every instance, if you asked me before I read this issue, like who would win in the fight if Batman went against Superman, full-fledged, Superman not holding back, anything like that? Like initially, I would have said Superman, no hesitation. But after reading this Devastator one shot, the hesitation kind of crept in, man. And I still feel like there's that possibility that Superman could just zap him from a distance and just obliterate him. But with every issue that we see, especially this one where it seems like Superman's finna win, Batman still comes out on top. So now for me, it just made that percentage go down as far as Superman's chances to win to like your 2% now. Like either Superman goes for the quick kill or it's over. But like as far as your Doomsday versus Superman, we know that Superman is in trouble when it comes to the Devastator. He killed Earth -1 Superman, and he nearly killed Earth Zero Superman before Flash saved him. And I say that because we really can't miss the fact here that this Batman, this Devastator, is not just your typical Doomsday. Because when Superman fought Doomsday to the death, these were just two forces of power pounding on each other until one of them stopped breathing. And with the Devastator, that is far from the same type of situation. One, because he's Batman, yeah, I just said it. But 2, which is way more important, that he can actually fight. And anytime we've seen the playing field get level between Batman and Superman, Batman comes out on top. He's gone head to head with others who are enhanced like Deathstroke, but he's only been outfought on a few occasions when somebody caught the drop on him and they're like substantially stronger, like Bane for example. And we get a taste of what the Devastator can do when we see him take out Lobo. And I'm not necessarily sure if Lobo is as powerful as Superman, because there's times where we've seen him break skin easier than Superman, but between the two, I would definitely say that Lobo is a better fighter. But even with that in mind, take Bruce Wayne, who's one of the best fighters in the DC universe, amp up his strength and durability, he's gonna go toe to toe with dozens of characters who he wouldn't normally mess with. But with the Devastator having all the abilities of Doomsday, plus all the extra Kryptonian killing tricks, oh, and not to mention he can fly. Like, did I mention he can fly? Yeah, he can do that too. Like, I really can't stress enough how much more of a threat the Devastator is versus your typical Doomsday. Like, very similar to the way I felt about Dawnbreaker versus Hal Jordan, I feel the same way about Superman. I just don't see him getting out of this. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Currently, Superman is still in that dark multiverse trap that Barbados set for him. And with the Devastator taking the Tuna Fork, which is the large gold tower thing we keep seeing, like, this really messed up Barry and the Justice League's plan, because initially they planned to use this to get Superman in so he could retrieve Batman. But after getting attacked by the Nightmare Batman, it's like now they have to figure something else out. And until they do, Superman is stuck in there, and to Superman, like he said before, when he's in there, at times months and years have even passed by. And there's no telling how long it seems to him like he's being tortured. But if you guys are anything like me, you're probably wondering, well, why can't Dr. Fate just do what he did before, reach in there and pull him right back out? And my first assumption on that is what was mentioned in Dark Knight's Metal issue number 3, which sits between Merciless and comes right before the Devastator. It's like we're told some about the difficulty that it takes for Dr. Fate to scan time and space and find out where he's at in that dark multiverse. And it's like when we get to the point of Flash issue 33, we see Flash stealing Superman just going for it because time's not really on their side to try to sit around and figure this out. But like I said, that'll do it for this one. I believe the next issue is the Batman Who Laughs. Like, we'll finally get his origin. I have a link up for my theory on that, and pretty soon we'll know how close we got, because I like reading a lot of you guys' theories as well. And on that subject, any of the theories about him not being Bruce Wayne, they pretty much got debunked in like every issue of the tie-ins and the Metal series. And even when the Devastator meets him on Earth -1 and he's like, aren't you the Joker? Didn't he kill you? And he referring to Superman. But the Batman Who Laughs is like, no, I'm Bruce. And both you and I are versions of Bruce gone terribly wrong. But check out the video with my theory. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, later.